Our gospel for this Sunday comes to us from the 11th chapter of the Gospel according to John. Glory to you, O Lord. We step into the middle of the famous story of the raising of Lazarus after, when Jesus finally arrives at the scene. When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, some 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them about their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, while Mary stayed at home. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask of him." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha said to him, "I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live, and everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?" She said to him, "Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world." When she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary and told her privately, "The teacher is here and is calling for you." And when she heard it, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come to the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. The Jews who were with her in the house, consoling her, saw Mary get up quickly and go out. They followed her because they thought that she was going to the tomb to weep there. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit, and he was deeply moved. He said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus began to weep, so the Jews said, "Look, see how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who have opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, there's a stench because he's been dead 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone, and Jesus looked upward and said, "Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I've said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so that you may believe that you sent me." When he said this, he cried out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." The gospel of our Lord. Please be seated. Now, I know many of you are, very well aware of the fact that last week was Halloween. I did have the opportunity, now with things getting a little easier, to go and attend a Halloween-themed party. It was actually themed on the mob, the mafia. And it was just this interesting kind of, motif that they were running with. And the highlight of the event, I guess, is someone brings a life-size Jimmy Hoffa doll, and they blow it up. The thing is, they've been doing this for so long, they like pranking each other that are there. So people will go and change the fuse on it from time to time to see what kind of reaction people will get, because sometimes it'll take forever and then, people get close or it'll go off like that. And it's now starting to cause some problems. And I realize that in my role as pastor, I have a job to do next time that get to go to this party. I need to give them a Hoffa they can't refuse. They had, one of the other things of this party was theme food. I don't know if any of you seen this, but Oscar Mayer actually supposedly made this stuff. Black licorice hot dogs called Halloweeners. I'm like, how do you make a hot dog worse? Oh, here we go. Hold our beer, kind of stuff. Well, yes, they were there at the party there, but the host is obviously an interesting character and decided to do some other things than that. Went a bit further than that. Had some Halloween-themed animal sausage. Yep, you're right. It went from bat to verse. Okay, we'll stop there. Yeah, I know. I have to make sure you're awake. And if nothing else, then anything I say afterwards can be qualified as good news, which is what we're about, isn't it? We're about good news. But the question is for us, what is good news? You know, is good news just something that makes you feel good, whatever that might be? Is it good enough that you feel good if someone else feels bad? If the same news makes someone else bad but makes you feel good, is it good news? Now, if the roles were reversed, I would know the answer to that question, wouldn't I? For us, do the words we use and the ways we proclaim them, do they come across as good news? But then again, there's this issue of sometimes we confuse good news with better news. We've all had that time of better news. Let's put it this way. How many times have you heard something along the lines like this? Well, at least it isn't raining. That qualifies as better news, doesn't it? Or, remember, it could always be worse. I'll give you a hint, that doesn't qualify as good news either. But how often do we act as if, well, if there's an incremental improvement, or at least it's not as bad as it could be, this qualifies as good news? See the lesson today. Jesus comes and is deeply moved. This is friends of his. Now, the first half of the gospel is he intentionally waits when he hears that he's sick. And I think part of it is to drive home a point of the difference between good news and better news. Notice that both sisters, when they came to Jesus, went, "If you had been here, my brother would not have died. At least he wouldn't be dead." Even those in the crowd around him said, "Well, couldn't the guy who healed the blind man kept this man from dying?" Better news. But notice what Jesus does when he responds to each and every one of them. "I am the resurrection and the life." The resurrection and the life. Keep that in mind. Now, here's the thing. If you're sick and you get better, is that resurrection? I think I'm going to send you all back to confirmation class. We should all know the answer to that. The answer is no. Resurrection happens after one thing and one thing only. You cease to be. You become an ex-person. You're no longer alive. And yet Jesus comes and says, "I am the resurrection and the life." That's good news. How is it good news? How many of us have had times when we have had a cold, haven't felt good, been pretty sick, and we got better? Everybody in this room, right? Right? Sometimes we needed a little bit more help. We needed doctors and medical equipment and medical advice and medicines and all that kind of stuff. But we got better. How many of us have died? Yeah, those are the people we remember today. Because we can't do that. The good news is that we do have the Savior and Lord who is the resurrection and the life, who will bring back to life, who will resurrect us from the dead. And if we doubt that, remember what he did at the end of the Gospels. Right after this raising of Lazarus, the people go and conspire to get him killed. This is what is the final straw for the Pharisees. We got to kill this guy off because people are going, wait a minute, he even raises the dead? We got to stop this guy. And there's only one way to stop somebody. We kill them. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. Why? I am the resurrection and the life. I told you this would come back later. And so the good news is for us is that there is no such thing as the end. The good news for us is not that things will get better, but that new life will come. And that includes the times when we think that we've hit the end, when we have done something so spectacularly, boneheadedly stupid that there is no recovery from it. There's still resurrection from that. When a relationship goes completely to pieces, and there is no way that there is ever going to be a redemption or a chance at love again, there is resurrection for that too. The last things in our lives are never the last things in the life of Christ. For he is the resurrection and the life. Which means that this promise doesn't just kick in after you kick the bucket. It is also now in the ability to get up each and every new day when there is things that have gone wrong and things that are tearing at you and you don't wish to rise again. The power to rise again is there. The power to live again, to try again, to be again is yours. So how might we proclaim that to one another? How might we go to a world that is reeling in pain and shock and derision and division, in zero tolerance for anything, it seems, anymore? How might we be love in the world? How might we bring light to the world? Because if there's one thing the people need, that we all need, is not to go, well, it'll get better. We need the good news. We need to remind ourselves of a God who created this world and said it was good. That includes you, and that includes them. It includes all of us. And that power to rise again and to live again into that kingdom that has been given to us. Those we remember today as celebrating their joyous entry into the kingdom of God. But at the same time, we pray, your kingdom come on earth as in heaven. This resurrection and the life is also part of what we are to be about now. Being about good news. Not just better news. Being about grace and mercy and forgiveness. Being about kindness and generosity. About letting that light so shine before others that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. they might see the good. They might know the love. They might realize that there is this power, this gift of new life from the one who is the resurrection and the life, and it is theirs because that's what God does. And so, for all of us, on this day when we remember all of those who have gone before and all of the things that might not have worked in the past year and a half, we can all name dozens of things that did not turn out the way we wanted to. Lots of weddings and reunions and parties and trips and all kinds of things, graduations, did not happen the way we wanted to. How will we rise again? How will we bring messengers of good news? Maybe we need to remember that we first have received. And so, again, I remind you to let's remember those promises God gave us in holy baptism. If you repeat after me, please. I've been sealed by the Holy Spirit. I've been marked with the cross of Christ forever. I am Christ's. Remember that good news and take it with you and share it with others who need to know new life as well. And remember that God loves you, and so do I. Amen. As a bonus, I don't know how many of you noticed that the opening song, the opening hymn we sang, it just, other than the verses being slightly out of order, you just sang that promise, that affirmation I just led you in baptism too. So you remind yourself twice.